he meant it.
But you remember him a little bit.
I can
I have
kind of
very,
remember.
very little memory of him.
Yeah, yeah.
I know that when he was dying, he had some problem, and my mother, being a nurse, had to go over there and really help with him every night, it seemed like. And I resented the fact that she, I mean, this is how a young kid thinks, the fact that she had to go over there every night. And
Well, he was in real agony because he couldn't, had trouble going to the bathroom, urinating.
yeah.
And his system was always getting poisoned because he couldn't.
Now they probably would have been put on dialysis, maybe. There's all kinds of things they would have
He
done.
wouldn't have had to die so young.
No.
That's the way it was.
Did anyone outside your immediate family live with you while you were growing up, such as aunts, uncles, cousins, or grandparents? And if so, who and for how long and why?
We didn't have relatives living with us, but during the war, apartments, any place to live was a really rare thing to find. There were defense, the people working in the shipyards, the people were drawn to the Bay Area. And we had, mother rented this place that we'd been living in. It actually had 7 rooms. So there was a time when a lady by the name of Alberta Day, she was a nurse, and she lived with us for a while. And was there another time somebody lived with us? I wouldn't doubt it during the war there. I don't recall, but.
Well, when we were on, what was it, on West Street,
Oh, yeah.
before we went to 52nd Street,
Yeah.
there was maybe that was Alberta Day then, I'm not sure
No,
about that. But
Alberta.
there was some lady, and I think she was, it was a dual purpose kind of thing. She kind of helped with, when mother went to work, I think she was there to kind of keep an eye on us kind of thing.
And what age were you?
This was
Well, no, that
way
would be-
before kindergarten even.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He was John. Well, when you went to kindergarten, we had to go to Washington Grammar School, right?
Yeah, but I was in some kind of a preschool then.
But then
We lived on
Were we on West Street or-
787
we
52nd
were on
Street
52nd Street.
when I
then?
started kindergarten.
When you and I walked to
Yeah,
school,
that would've been-
we were on 52nd Street
I
then?
think you were in the 1st grade and I was in some kind of preschool.
Okay, well, when we were on West Street then, that was even before.
Okay, well, I don't remember. I knew we lived there, but I
There
don't.
was a big
remember.
house there too.
Yeah.
And there was another lady that lived there with us at that time. and I
We
can't- I
always
don't
lived
remember.
within mother's walking distance to Children's Hospital. So that's the reason. We lived 52nd Street, West Street, Dover Street, always lived so she could walk to work.
You might mention your having to escort him to class
Oh, well,
and what you did with the money that was given to you.
you remember that?
Well,
We got milk money, and of course, kids being kids, we go by the store and we say, gee, there's nice candy in that store. We figured, well, let's take a chance and go spend the money on that. And then I guess the school called up and said, because we were supposed to deliver the money, and the school called mother up and said, you haven't made your payment on the milk yet.
nickels
got-
and dimes were important in those days. We really, even though she was an RN and always worked steadily, money was not, things were tight.
Yes, they were.
But what was it that you put in the mailbox? Did you tell him you put the money in the mailbox, or?
Yeah, I think some of
I
that.
don't know.
You don't remember that?
The story
Okay.
was that or maybe I did it, but we, he
thought
had the
you-
money
Whatever it
in
was,
that
we
was supposed to be.
spent the money on candy instead of paying for the milk.
Next subject, religion. What religion were your parents or grandparents?
Not really, well, my grandmother was a Christian Scientist, but that came to her later in life. All of our relatives would say they were all Protestants, but I don't believe any of them were really churchgoers, but not to say that they didn't all believe really strongly in God, and they were Christians. It just didn't have an affiliation with church, except my grandmother. I don't think Marion went to church, and as far as my father's mother, she was a Catholic, and the story I heard was that Fred, my grandfather, wouldn't marry her unless she gave up her religion, which that may be true, may not be, but anyway, they didn't go to church either, so.
Well, they didn't go to church, but we always said grace before meals,
And we
on
were
holidays.
and we were taught our prayers, and when we were
Yeah.
little kids, we were taught the Lord's Prayer, and so we had a religious upbringing, and I don't, it didn't come from any church. There was a time when we went to this place called the Friends Community Church, but that was sort of a joke.
Yes.
And, Paul and I and some friend of ours went to this church very briefly, and the guy was a big jerk. It was a preacher. We just, I don't know why I think it was
Well, if I remember correctly, he confronted us as why our mother wasn't going to church. And we said, well, because she's a nurse and she works all different kinds of hours. And I think he said, well, that's no excuse. And it's much to say as our mother was going to go to hell if she didn't go to church. Isn't that what you heard?
Yeah,
Something
yeah,
like that?
yeah.
So that kind of turned us off right then and there. We thought, no, we know better than that.
But, we don't need a place like this church this guy was running anyway. I mean, those kind of moral beliefs come from your family, I think, and we certainly had all the moral values presented to us, and more so.
So that says, do you still belong to that faith? If not, do you now adhere to another faith? And if so, what made you change your religion?
Well, maybe I'll try to go back to the Friends Community Church again. I drove by there a few years ago. It's probably been 5 different churches or 10. It's a church. It's still there.
You drove by
Is
there?
it like a
yeah.
storefront, or is it
It's a
a
church.
It
No,
has a steep
little neighborhood,
Yeah,
uh,
I mean, it's
It looks like a church. It's a little neighborhood church.
and it's right across the street from that park there where we were forced to go have our fight in the
so what's the location? What's the actual street?
52nd and West
Oh, okay.
in Oakland. And since then, I joined the Roman Catholic Church in 1956 when I got married, and still there.
Living places. How many places did you live while you were growing up? Where were they, and which one do you consider your hometown?
Hometown.
Hometown.
Well, when my mother first left my father, Paul and I were separated often, and I'd be in one place and he'd be in another, because she worked all kinds of different hours. In fact, that immediately she was a live-in job with someone, the best she could get, some guy who was dying, and she stayed with him, he was terminal, and she had one afternoon of a week off, I think, and she would visit both of us, and she tried to keep us together, but we'd be separated. So I don't remember, I remember hearing about this, but I sort of remember that house on West Street, and from there, I'm pretty sure we moved across right around the corner to 787 52nd Street. I don't know why I remember that address still. And,
Remember
no, wait a minute. Before that, we moved over to Dover because that's where we lived. Not seven.
No, after
That's at Nunes's house. We moved to Dover. We lived with these people named Nunes, and they were kind of really hard people to live with, I thought. And
they were hard people to live with.
and it was there that we both went, I went to preschool and you went to first grade, I think it was, and there was, the Nunes's daughter had really hated kids, and we would have to eat our meals with them, and at least dinner, I don't know about the other meals, and she took her school books, she was in high school, she took her school books and put them up in front of her face so she wouldn't have to look at us. She just didn't want to deal with it. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And so anyway, after we got out of that situation, that was on Dover Street, Dover and 55th. Then we moved to 787 52nd Street. Again, that's across the street from that park. And I started kindergarten when we lived there. And then after that, we moved to 780, or the Dover Street, 5407 Dover. And we stayed there. That's the house that we really grew up in. That's the one that I remember really have memories of. And we were there through until the time I got drafted even.
Yep.
You know.
Now, is that where Mrs. Ball lived?
Yeah, she, the lady downstairs, Mrs. Ball. And then mother moved to
When we were
40th Street.
when we were in the service.
We were in the service.
And got all new furniture.
Yeah.
Well, you guys left and then you came back.
Yeah.
So how about Mrs. Ball? Tell a couple of things about Mrs. Ball.
Mother evidently asked her to keep an eye on us kids, and we didn't ever realize that she was supposed to be watching us, but we weren't big troublemakers. We really just, you know, we caused we were noisy and we did things, and we had,
Broke a few windows. And
and we had kids over the house that made noise, and Mrs. Ball was just not compatible with. She would yell at us, but she was really a good-hearted lady, and we'd run up and down the back stairs. Back stairs had to have at least 40 stairs, because there were, well, 30 anyway, because it was high to get up to where we lived, and we just, and she'd always stick her head out the door and say, "Shut up, you're breaking my dishes." She spoke with this broken accent. I don't know where she would have been from, but "You break my dishes." I guess she's trying to say she had dishes leaning up against the walls, or how could we be breaking her dishes?
Well,
And then she would come up in the middle of every time she came up visiting. My mother never visited her place. I don't think she was ever in her place, but Mrs. Ball was always coming up our stairs and knocking on the door. It was always dinner time, and every time she came up, it seemed like we were having hot dogs. And she'd say, "You having them damn hot dogs again?"
and they weren't kosher.
Yeah.
Now that would be considered a flat where you lived, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think you'd call it
Because it was
a
clear
flat.
across the top.
Yeah, this whole place was one great big house that had been converted into 4 different units.
And Mr. Schuster was
Oh.
in the other apartment.
Oh, upstairs.
Next, yeah.
Mr.
Okay.
Schuster
And
had
his
a,
son Max.
yeah, he had a couple rooms on our level, and then some more above us. It was a
Oh.
crazy built place.
Yeah.
When they converted it into the
And then
apartment.
down in the one, there was the Balls, and then that other family. You remember the other family?
Not very well. They didn't, you know, did maybe people moved in and out of there? I don't remember that.
Well, they had a daughter.
Yeah.
Paul remembers.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. The daughter was attracted to Paul, shall we say.
I think she had taught him a few things.
Yeah.
How about, oh, go ahead.
I can't remember the name. Was it Woods?
No, but that was somebody different. No, the Woods lived there later.
Okay, well, what the girl's name was Maureen, but I can't remember what her last name
But
was.
see, you know, I'm pretty sure that was a different family that lived there. But anyway.
How about the apartment? What kind of modern conveniences? Or was the bathroom old or updated?
The
Or
toilet had a tank, the water tank up above about 6 feet up, and you pulled this chain, and the chain just opened a valve and it just flushed the toilet. It was pretty simple. Probably more worry-free than the toilets we got now.
Probably so.
And had a, you know, I don't think we had a shower, but there was a bathtub in
We
there.
did have a shower. Mom had rigged up a deal where the curtains went around, don't you know?
Yeah, I
And
can't
she-
remember.
Put a,
Yeah, put a shower up, yeah.
And
how about,
You had a
Oh.
washing machine, which was, you know, it was, well, somehow I got to be the one who did the wash because sometime maybe when I was in high school or maybe later junior high where she had to go for surgery and she showed me how to do the wash, so, but it was well, maybe I was earlier than that. Anyway, but it didn't matter. You know, you had this, it agitated the clothes and then you ran the clothes through a wringer into a basin that was clear water and then you took them out of there and then you had to run it through the wringer again and then you pile all the clothes up and take it out to hang it on the line. We had a line
A
out.
long line, it went way
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Cause we were
did you
up-
have to go downstairs or could you hang
No,
your
no,
line off your
You could reel
porch?
it back. You could-
Oh.
Our 7-room flat ended up with an area on top of the garage that had these lines on it. So we had a lot of room in that
Yeah.
place that we lived in, and these lines were all strung out there, with plenty of room.
How about the wall plugs?
No, we had.
Was
regular-
that the place where you had the gas?
Yeah, they had the old gas fixtures that were, they're still left in there. Because
They
the
ran,
place-
I
they
guess,
weren't
they ran
functional.
electric wires through the gas, what used to be the gas, isn't it? The gas fixed, the house was built and they had gas lights and they ran the
You
electricity.
can stand
through.
up if you want.
No, no, I'm okay.
Okay.
And so, yeah, but the place was, and the electricity went out every once in a while.
Oh,
Remember that?
You know, the fuses. And you'd have to go down and
The
change
fuse would blow out, so.
Pop a fuse.
The whole house, it seemed like, would blow out. And then when that happened, nobody made a noise, you know.